Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
wonderful. Yeah,
All right.
got it. Yeah. Jai Baba, everybody. Welcome to our book reading on surrendering to Him. And yeah, we're going to take off from where we left the last time. It was on page number 45. So we begin from page number 46.
I don't see the page anymore.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Oh.
No, you don't. I'll share it again. Hi, Marvin. Jai Baba.
Hi.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yes. Now I don't. Do you see that it's recording? I don't see that.
Yeah, it started recording, so I think it should be right. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
wait.
it's on, Betty, it's on.
It's on.
Yeah,
All right.
wonderful.
Mhm.
So yeah, so then looked up expectantly. Baba's attention was already on the next person in the queue, and I was just brushed aside. Still, I was determined. I made up I made my way up on the stage where Baba was. Though it was already so full of people, there was hardly a place to stand. At one time, I heard someone say, "The stage is going to collapse any minute. Let's get down." But I was not to be budged. I fought my way toward Baba and stood right behind him. Silently, I implored him to look my way. He did turn, only to caress the face of someone on my right, to pat someone on my left, to ask a question of someone behind me, but it was as though I did not exist. I was literally dazed. I couldn't understand why my beloved, who had showered me with so much love, who had showered so much love on me only a few days back at Satara, was absolutely ignoring me. I thought I might have a chance when everyone came, but the crowd remained so thick that when he was leaving, Baba sat on the roof of the car so that people could see him. There was no way that I could capture his attention. Later, I understood as I learned more about Baba's ways, for he said, "I push you away, then I draw you close. Again, I push you off and draw you even closer." But of course, at that time, I did know that this was one of Baba's ways of working, and I was devastated. Many years later, something similar happened to me when we. Betty, you can continue from here. Thank you.
When when we were in Pune and Baba was staying at Guru Prasad, Baba suddenly started ignoring me completely. I remember one day in particular when we were sitting with Baba in the small room at Guru Prasad, and he asked the lady on my right if she had met Mera that morning. The same question was then addressed to the lady on my left, then to the one behind me, and the one in front of me. I sat there looking up at Baba expectantly, certain that he would give me his attention and ask me the question also. But once again, I was brushed aside as though I didn't exist. Baba continued to ignore me completely during the next couple of days, and I was inconsolable. One evening during our stay in Pune, I was at Vindra House, Erich's home, and Rano Gailey was also there. Everyone noticed that I was peevish and withdrawn, and they coaxed me into telling them what the trouble was. Finally, I told them how miserable I was because of Baba's ignoring me. "I might as well not be here," I said. Rano said, "My dear, that has happened to me and to Kitty Davy too. Baba will literally ignore us. We could be paper on the wall." I also used to feel very upset, and then I found a beautiful solution. I told Kitty, "Can you imagine how conscious Baba has to be of us in order to ignore us in that way?" Rano's explanation satisfied me to some extent, and a few days later, A Baba family arranged a feast at Guru Prasad. We had a beautiful lunch with the Lord of the universe sitting with us, watching over his children and telling us to eat heartily. But again, it was as though I wasn't even there. Every time I tried to catch his eye, Baba was looking the other way. As soon as we had finished lunch, I went into another room and stood looking through, the window where I could see Baba clearly, but at the same time not be conspicuous. With tears streaming down my cheeks, I told my beloved silently, if it is your wish and makes you happy to ignore me, it is all right. Your happiness is my happiness. And that was the end of it. The episode was closed, and the beloved's face was once again turned toward me. I am reminded of the translation that Baba once gave when a kowal was singing. How indifferent and independent God is, although He Himself is everyone and everything. The more you love Him, the more He turns His face away from you. But if you persist, you compel Him to turn His face to you. In his masterful way, Baba had shown me that the adolescent love I had for him had to be replaced by a more mature love, a love that does not need recognition at every step, but which silently burns for the beloved. For, as Baba said, those who sigh loudly and weep and wail have yet to experience love. Love sets on fire the one who finds it. At the same time, it seals his lips so that no smoke comes out. I think I'll stop at this point. I can read again later. Eva, maybe? Oopsie. Eva's being mommy here.
I'm going
Yeah.
to put a dog in a crate, but I'll be right back.
Sure.
And I'm happy to read.
Maybe Marvin can read till then. Marvin, you read, and then Eva can join in later. Thanks.
Looks like he's not sitting down. Okay.
All right, let's go. The following month, on October 1954, just one day before Baba discarded the alphabet board, Adi and I came from Panchgani, where we were visiting, to Satara. We needed to inquire about our passports, which we had sent there for endorsement. We took care of our business and were out of the passport office in an hour's time, free for the rest of the day. We knew Baba was in Satara, and we looked at one another, our question unspoken. Adi shook his head. But, I burst out, we have no orders from Baba not to visit him. It's all right for you to shake your head. You were with him for 3 weeks last month. But what about me? I persisted. Here's a picture. Adi's with the hat.
Can you scroll it down again just quickly? Oh. Wow. Thank you.
Who was on the left? Our left?
Our left is Adi, the one with the hat. Adi
Oh,
Dubash.
okay. And then the
Ro-
right?
Not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we can scroll down now.
Oh, just give me a second, please. I'm trying to. Yeah.
This looks good. Oh, well, maybe a little bit.
Just give me a second, please. Betty, can you just pause the recording?
Oh,
You want me to read the photo?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Adi Dubash with the hat on Bob's right. Only one identified in the photo.
Okay. Mera baat se 1958. Yeah.
Adi remained hesitant, but I finally convinced him, and we went to Grafton Villa, where Baba was staying. We stood outside while the men Mandali sent word to Baba that we were there. The answer came, telling us to wait outside Rosewood, the quarters of the men Mandali, where Baba would see us at 2 o'clock. The moment Baba stepped from the car at Rosewood, we could see that he was angry with us. His eyes flashing, he gestured, "These two people are sitting on my chest." Then, relenting somewhat, he turned to Adi and gave him a friendly slap on the back. "You just stayed with me for 3 weeks. Weren't you satisfied? Tell me, it was Rhoda who brought you here, wasn't it?" "Yes," Baba said, Adi. Baba then turned to me. "Today, after 3 months, I have had a head bath, so I don't want you to embrace me. If you do so, I will have to take another bath, and I'm already feverish." I assured him that I would not embrace him. Bob instructed us not to ask any questions and not to disturb him, as he had a lot to see to. He needed to give last-minute instructions to the Mandali before giving up his alphabet board on the following day. Baba turned to one of the Mandali and asked, "What time is it?" It was 2 o'clock. And finally, added Baba, "You will stay here for an hour and then leave at 3 o'clock." We both assured him that we would do exactly as he wished, then followed him inside. After he had taken his seat, we sat on the floor in front of him, absorbed in his presence. In spite of the intense activity, as he attended to correspondence and gave instructions to the Mandali, the beloved found time to joke with us and ask us questions. Sometimes he ignored us, but every so often he cast a loving glance in our direction. During that hour, Erich read out a letter from a principal of a new school for girls in Kolhapur, inviting Baba to come for the inauguration. Scroll. If, with good wishes, if Baba was unable to come, the principal asked that he send a message with good wishes for the occasion. Baba started dictating a message with special emphasis on the training of girls to become good citizens, good wives, and above all, good lovers of God. To achieve this, he said, they must be absolutely honest with themselves, with others, and with God. Suddenly, with a twinkle in his eyes, Baba turned to Adi and Rhoda and asked, "What do you think of," or maybe just to Adi, "what do you think of Rhoda? Is she a good wife?" Adi answered, "A1, Baba." Baba's face lighted up with pleasure. He then turned to me. "And Adi, is he a good husband?" "A1, I answered. With an exasperated look, Baba turned to Erich and said, "Why are you bothering me with sending this message to the principal of the school when we have here these two perfect examples of what I want to convey? Instead, why don't you just send Adi and Rhoda and tell the principal to make them stand on the stage and say, instead of sending a message, Baba has sent these two as living examples of how a man and a woman should be in life." During this conversation, we both became aware that the hour Baba had given us had passed, but we made no attempt to leave. I thought, Baba isn't saying anything about our leaving, so that must mean he doesn't mind us staying. 5 minutes passed, then 10, 15, 20. Suddenly, Baba turned to Adi and asked, "Are you a true Zoroastrian?" Adi was taken by surprise. He didn't understand what Baba meant. "Baba, do you mean, do I wear the Sadra and Kusti?" "No," Baba replied. "I mean, do you practice good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, as laid down by Zoroaster in your life?" He continued, "What's the time?" 20 past 3, Adi answered. "You gave me your word that you would leave at 3 o'clock. Where is your word as a Zoroastrian?" "But Baba," I said, "you didn't seem to mind our staying." Baba remained firm. When 3 o'clock struck, scroll, it was up to you to keep your word and get up to leave. Then, if I wanted you to stay longer, I would have told you so. A true Zoroastrian, once he has given his jaban, or word, is honor bound to keep it at any cost. We both felt so ashamed that we literally hung our heads as together we got up to leave. Baba immediately held up his hand and gestured to us to be seated again. Now, Baba said, you will leave when I tell you. After a while, when Baba asked us to leave, he added that Adi was to come to Satara again the following day to stay with the men Mandali and be there when he gave up the alphabet board. I will come too, I said eagerly. Baba shook his head. If you insist, I will tell Adi not to come. Much as I wished to accompany Adi, I could only obey. I was beginning to understand that the beginning of real love is obedience, and the highest aspect of this love, which surpasses love itself, is action, which culminates in perfect obedience to and supreme resignation to the will and the wish of the beloved. As Baba has said, I do not want anything else from you but the gift of your obedience.
Thanks, Marvin. Eva, would you like to read from yours?
Sure. For Adi and me, the late 1950s were a time of learning much more deeply what it meant to love and obey Baba. All of us during our lives have to pass through situations which are beyond our control and may cause great suffering. We know this, but we often cannot see the events that are coming, so we are not prepared for them to happen. In April of 1955, Adi and I experienced an unexpected tragedy that changed our lives. In February or March, Manu Karas had received a letter from Adi K. Irani conveying Baba's wish for him to arrange for a continuous round-the-clock job, or repetition of God's name, to be carried out by Baba's lovers in Karachi. Each of the lovers took a shift, and the job was carried out in different homes according to a fixed time schedule. Adi's job was from 4:30 to 5 p.m., and mine was the half hour following. During the period in which this job was being recited in Karachi, on 16 April 1955, our youngest son, Homi, who was only 4.5, fell from a second-story window of our house. We rushed him to the hospital, but he died half an hour later without ever regaining consciousness. When the doctor told us that Homi was gone, Baba's words in Satara a few months earlier flashed in my head. If I were to ask you to give me your son, would you willingly give him to me? Assuming that Baba had meant he wanted my son to stay with him as one of the Mandali, I had been overjoyed and had spontaneously said yes. Now I understood instantly what Baba's words had really meant. I also recalled Baba at that time asking me about Marwan, but not about Homi. And I knew without question what Baba meant by his words. Whatever I have said must and will come to pass. My words can never be in vain. Sometimes an event takes place immediately. Other times it may take months or even years. but it will happen in his time and his way. Later, I would remember other signs that I had noticed, but to which I had not attached any particular significance. When I had taken Homie to the airport in Karachi to meet Baba for the first time in 1952, I picked him up in order to put him in the beloved's arms. But with a gesture, he stopped me from doing so. The doctor's words that our child was dead left me completely dazed. Had it not been for Baba, I'm sure I would have lost my equilibrium. And as it was, I moved about at first like an automaton. We returned home, reaching there just before 4 o'clock. The news of Homie's death had spread, and friends and relatives were already,
Thank you, Eva.
oh, you're welcome.
Pouring in. Adi told me that it was time for our job, and he was going upstairs to the small Baba room. He told me not to let anyone attend to Homie's body until he had finished the job. Just before 5 o'clock, I went upstairs to relieve Adi as it was then my turn. But Meenu Khara's finding us both down, uh, missing downstairs came up and induced me to let him do the job in my place. Still, I wanted at least to start the repetition of God's name, so I insisted on going inside the room for just a few minutes. The moment I bowed down to Baba's picture, tears flooded my eyes, and the words, "Thy will be done," came to my lips. Relief came instantaneously. When I came out of the room, I had stopped crying and felt clear headed and composed. Looking back on this incident, two things stand out clearly for me. Friends and family with good intentions begged me to cry, thinking tears would help to relieve me of the shock of losing our son. But after those few minutes alone with Baba, I remained dry eyed because at the back of my mind was the thought that Baba, while speaking about death, had once said, "Tears are wailing hinder a soul from departing." Knowing that Baba did not wish his lovers to weep and wail, I just could not cry. According to Parsi tradition, Homi's body could not be taken to the Tower of Silence, the Parsi cemetery, that evening. So we kept vigil during the night near his body. As I sat there with him, I silently implored, "Homi, go to our beloved Baba. He is at Satara. Homi, find your way there, find your way to our beloved, and tell him, I have come to thee." The following morning, as the time of Homi's funeral drew near, the smile which had already appeared on his face seemed to me to grow more radiant, and I knew that Homi had met his maker, our beloved Baba. A few days later, a letter came from Satara. Dr. Gohar wrote, "Baba says little Homi has come to him and is with him." It is the Parsi custom for the men to participate in the funeral procession. Adi later told me that as the procession was made, it was its way to the Tower of Silence. He was remembering Baba all along the way. When the procession stopped and the gate was opened, he visualized that he was leading Homi by finger and at the gate was handing him over to Baba. Filled with grief, thou, with loving resignation, we wrote to Baba. We loved him, but he has gone back to his father who loved him far better than we did or ever would have. He was an angel, but now he is with the King of angels, beloved Baba. Take him unto thee, so that he too may dedicate his life, his all to thee through eternities. Not our, but thy will be done, Baba. When the tragedy struck us, fully knowing it was your work, it still found us. unprepared. Forgive us, dear Baba, our weaknesses. Call us near you and discipline us as you have disciplined so many thousands of your disciples, so that we too may be worthy to serve and love thee. As always, the compassionate Father in Sitara heard our heartfelt prayers, our call from across the sea. When Baba received our letter, which also contained a photograph of Homi, Erich wrote, Baba very lovingly took Homi in his august hands. Erich told us that Baba then asked for a flashlight, which he focused on Homi and looked at him for a few seconds. Then he handed the photo to Erich to be sent back to us with the following message. Baba, with his hands touched Homi, you too frame the enclosed photo and keep it near you. When you say that Homi has come to Baba, then you must feel great relief. And with this knowledge, Baba wants you both to feel happy. Erich also added how happy Baba was that, in spite of a great loss, we did not hesitate to carry out the job entrusted to us. Today, we look back with joy on the years that we had in dear Homi's company. Adi and I thank Baba from our hearts for giving us this beautiful gift, our son Homi, whose custodians we were destined to be for 4.5 years. Baba gave us a painful but important lesson early in our lives, that everything, father, mother, husband, wife, child, is a passing phase, and the real one is Baba. His is to give, his is to take, ours is to accept with grace. But in his compassion, Baba also gives us the strength and courage to face the tragedies that life brings. Without Baba, such tragedies might make us cynical, embittered, or sour. But Baba is our rock, and no matter how hard we lean on him, he will hold us up. He is our haven, our refuge. We all experience situations that are beyond our control, unexpected calamities, and sometimes excruciating suffering. Baba says people should look upon physical and mental suffering as gifts from God. They bring their own lessons of the futility of the passing and the intrinsic work of the eternal. When accepted with grace and understood in their very root cause, they chasten the soul and introduce it to abiding happiness of truth. I think we'll read from here the next time. It's time to end this meeting here. Uh, Betty, you can stop the recording.